We're up to today, the last daf of Layachper, Chav Zayin, and we're focusing on Ula. Ula came along and said, regarding the Kurim, he said that a tree that's next to the boundary of your neighbor, within 16 amas, he said you're a Gazlan and you cannot bring Bikurim. So the Machlek to the Shayim exactly what he's saying. So we only said last time what Rashi and some of the Shayim say, which is that Rashba and others, that they say the pshat is not that you're really a gazlan. It means you cannot say bekurim because it's a technicality. In bekurim you say the adomash and the satli, the land that you gave me, but because part of the tree is getting its nutrients from the land next door, you cannot claim adomash and the satli, this is the land that you gave me, because part of it belongs to your neighbor. And gazlan doesn't mean literally a gazlan, you're not stealing anything. And it just means that you cannot bring bekurim. It's like a gazlan because it's not your land. However, the tam and others learn that no, it means literally you are a gazlan because you're taking from the other person's, and that's why you cannot bring bikurim, because you can't. The Eibusher says, "I hate mitzvah ba'aveda, I hate things which are stolen," and that's how Rabbeinu Tam wants to learn. But then, if you learn that way, then this does not follow Rabbi Yossi. If you remember, Rabbi Yossi said you're allowed to plant a tree even after the border is there. You're allowed to plant. It's the nizik's problem to move away. So this Gemara then would only follow according to the Chacham, who hold that you have to keep that distance. So we're up to the Gemara here. We're asking. We explained. We ask questions. Now we're up to continuing to ask. The Chav Zayin and Aleph, in the middle of the page, about 7 lines at the bottom of the page. Toshma, come in here. Hakoine ilan v'kakoy. If somebody buys land and a tree with some land around it, maybe the kodesh. So since it's not just the tree, you also own the land. You can say hadomash and satli. You can say that it's your land. Now the chayda my lab koshu. The chayda doesn't matter how great, how large the tract of land is. There's no shear in this Mishnah here. So therefore, is a kasha nula. Ula say that you have to have 16 amas around the tree on all sides. Remember, we had a total of 32 amas, and in fact, that was even he was being machbir because technically it should be 33 amas. And he said, "No, yud vav amma." The Mishnahs give a shit because it relies on the fact that we know it has to be 16 amas. So we're continuing to probe Ula. Ula, who said that if you plant a tree within 16 amas of the border, you cannot, your friend's property, you cannot go ahead and bring bekurim because it's not your land. Part of the tree is growing on someone else's land, or the nurturing from someone's land, because the roots are going next door. So Toshma, 4 lines to the bottom. If you buy 3 trees in a saw, then you get all the land in between. But if you buy 2 trees, actually, even by 2 trees, but if you buy 2 trees, but within your friend's, let's say, land, is maybe the Eina Kodesh. When it comes to 2 trees, you don't bring, because you don't get any land with it. If you don't get any land with it, you can't go ahead and bring bikurim from the fruits that come from the tree, because how can you say Adoma Asher Satli? You don't have that. However, hashleisha, so we can be medayik, but 3, maybe the kaida. Even though Tej already points out, and the Fedish, this says continues in the Mishnah later on, it says, is that shleisha you do. But the Gemara likes to make inferences. I'm not sure exactly why, but the Gemara has, that's a dead of the style of the Gemara. Hashleisha, there were 3 trees within a saw, is maybe the kaida. You can go ahead and bring and say bekurim. My lab kosher, but how much do you land? 3 trees you get land with it, but how much land do you give with each tree? 2 trees you get no land with it. 3 trees you get land with it, but how much? Doesn't give a shear. How much land? In other words, by 2 trees only if you specify, I'll give you land with it. But if you don't specify, you get nothing. By 3 trees, you get the earth around it. Belongs to you as well. That means you can. Plant another tree. If the tree dies, what happens? Right to plant another tree there. If you have 3 trees and the tree dies, you can plant it. I own the land. My land. That's something I have 4 amas of this academy. Again, Nami Yud Vav Amma doesn't because the Mishnah because it doesn't mention how much land. So the Mishnah assumes you know the halacha, or the Brayz assumes you know the halacha, which is 16 amas. Toshma coming here. Rabbi Akiva says. Karka, we had this in the Gemara and Kedush Lechavav there, where we talk about that you can get nechosim she'ein lehem achrais, with metalklin together with the chossim yes achrais. Normally, when you want to buy metalklin, there's different kinyonim. Meshicha, you have to draw it, hagboy, pick it up, a mesir, pass it on. And karka is different for kinds of kinyonim. But if I'm buying from you a piece of karka and metalklin, if I'm going to make a kinyan on the karka, then the chosim she'ein lemachrais metalton is bought with it. In kinyan agav is true, but kinyan agav we had before is even more than that. The question is whether to put it inside the karka. This is if I make one kinyan, I'm getting them both. So, how much karka do you have to have in order to be able to do that? So the Akiva says, karka koshu sounds like kosher. And what's with koshu? You have to leave a corner of that, and a bikurim. Klar says koshu and bikurim. And because of all approval, Hillel made a takana when he saw that people stopped lending money right before Shemitah because they were scared they were going to lose all their money. So Hillel came along, made a takana and said approval. That means I'm not the one who you collect the money. I'm handing it over to Bezin. And in the possible Yigash is only talking about an individual, but it's the Bezin that's doing it. But Hillel only made a takana like all takanas in the normal manner that people behave. And milsa de shricha, a milsa de loy shricha, which is uncommon. They don't help out. Usually, when people make a loan, they want to have some security. They want to make sure you have land, and so therefore, when do you write a prusbul if you have a little bit of land? Karka kosher. Machlekes Hashem actually. And then to try to work what exactly machlekes is. Who owns this land, the loiva or the malva, and he gives it over to the loiva? Because the Rambam says the malva has a piece of land, gives it over to the loiva, and the other shem say, but talking about the loiva in the first place. And exactly what the machlekes is in the question explained. The niknin ima nechasim she'ela machais, and if you have a sliver of land and you're buying that, you can also buy nechasim. Bottom line is Bikurim, it says kosher, and Ula said you have to be 16 amas of your land. Otherwise, if the land belongs to somebody else, you can't bring Bikurim, you can't say Domish Asatui. We're talking about wheat. And we're not who you decide we're talking about a tree or you're talking about a piece of land. We're talking about wheat. And wheat is a mashu. How much land is there? No, a tree. What did Ula say you need 16 amas? By a tree. A tree, the roots go everywhere, so you need 16 amas. Wheat, we learned before, is vertical. It goes straight up and down. Actually, Taisus asks and all the same asks, there should be 3 tvachim. We know that also you need 3 tvachim around these plants. And some of the Shem Taka learned. Koshu means the Ramban learns that koshu over here doesn't mean koshu, means 3 tvachim. Compared to 16 amas, we call that koshu, 3 tvachim. The Ashban Taisus over here and others learn no. That it's taka koshu. We know you need tvachim. It's just like we learned before. Abaya said it's 25 amas, but 16 amas is nurturing, and the other one, the roots continue growing, but they don't really nurture from that. Same thing here. A mashu of land is enough for the chitin because where they get the nurture straight down, vertical. But it spreads out 3 tvachim, but that's not what's nurturing. So as far as when you could say adomash and even though all I have is a mashu, because all the nurture. Right? No, whatever it is, there's no shear. Yeah, one stalk a week. One stalk a week. We actually had the Gemara. When you buy karka, you get on a talton. So the Gemara asks if it's a kosher land, what can you do with it? So we said you can put a pin there. So the Gemara said, a pin is worthless. But you have a diamond on top of the pin. Remember, so even a kosher can be worth a lot. The svara, the Rashbam has a fascinating svara. Why taka when you come to your kind of karka, sheyesh on the chayis? With Kagan and why taka kosher need to be kosher? The whole idea that it's more kosher and this is insignificant compared to a bunch of kosher. So he says because ain't all the karkos. There's no set value by karka, so therefore you can be paying for this little kosher $1 million. Rabbi Thomas' famous shit we had in Azov and other places, he holds that you cannot do enough if it's more than double. By a normal case in Talton, it's a sixth. But or more than that is the Mekach is bottled. But by land, he says ain't another karkos means up to double. Beyond that already is also considered, but clearly the Rashbam doesn't hold that because there is a machlekes Hashem. So Rashbam holds there's no limit, that's why he gives a slaughter. And Taisus holds there is a limit up to double. And he gives another, like Morning Ksubas, that you can buy, you can give it, then give it back, give it, take it back. You keep on paying me for the loan that you owe me, $1 million loan, and I keep on going and seizing the property back, and I give it back to you for $10, each time it's worth something. Anyway, taking about it further, they can not make ton of kosher who. It says kosher who, so we're not talking about a tree here. Ilan a tree. A tree, which part of it is so part of the question is, in that you have all the dinim of tevel, and chutz you don't. So how do you deal with the fruits on this tree? So according to one opinion, tevel v'chulin mu'uravin zebazeh. When we look at Margitin, we put this in the sugya of Yesh Breira? Do we say that we can sort out that whatever I take, say all along, that's exactly what I wanted it to be, or we don't say or Ein Breira, which in Halacha we paskin Hatoida Ein Breira and the Rabban Yesh Breira. So here we have a tree, and you're taking fruits. How do you know which, the tree, the nourishment, where's it getting from? So he says, Teva v'chulin muravin zebazet. They're all mixed up, and you cannot, ain breda. You can't say, oh, the fruit I took on this side must be at Soldiga side. No, it doesn't work that way. They're all mixed up. Okay, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said, Hagadol b'chiyav chayiv. The one who goes to the side that just holds chayiv, and Hagadol potter. The one on the other side is potter. So Chayda, ad kindly plead, the whole machlekes centers around Marsava, Yesh Breda, Marsava, Ein Breda. Aval Godel Biptur, let's say if the entire tree was right on the grenets, right on the boundary of Eretz Yisrael, and on the other side, the Chutz La'aretz side. But what happened? The entire tree grew on the Chutz La'aretz side. What would it be? The thing would definitely be Divin HaKapata. No, but you all said that 16 amas of the roots. Of the roots, that's how far the nourishment is. That means part of the tree is getting its nourishment from Eretz Yisrael. So why isn't that Teva b'chul murav zebazeh? Akasha and Ula. I have to tell you that I don't understand the Rashi here. I really don't understand. I looked at all my Farshim, I can't find it, and I noticed the other Shem have a whole different shot here. Rashi learns here. Just show you. Say Rashi says. I don't understand. But the kul. I'm not sure why Rashi had to say. But the kul. I'll just tell you what Rashi says. Kuli alma hagodol b'ptur potter. So right, the kashi, the entire tree grows on the boundary. Right there, that the tree is potter l'chayda konta ula. You're getting the nourishment from Eretz Yisrael. It should be teba v'chul merav. So Rashi says here, she'im hayu kol shirasha v'chutz la'aretz. Why the roots are all in Chutz La'aretz? If all the roots are Chutz La'aretz, potter afilu ein medil. Not only that, but look at Rashi. Afilu ein medil teresheshes yama. If the tree is within 16 amas of the boundary, but the entire roots are in Chutz La'aretz, it's the roots that are getting the nourishment. How do you get 16 amas? The roots go 25 amas. The first 16 amas, the roots are sucking out the soil and the nourishment from the soil. But if Rashi says then all the roots are in Chutz La'aretz, so how is it getting nourishment from Eretz Yisrael? What's going? I mean, I don't understand Pshat. And why does Rashi have to say that all the roots? We mean the tree. We're talking about the tree. That the entire tree is in Chutz La'aretz, and the roots are dafka in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore, according to Ula, you go 16 amas. So the Ben Gershom focuses all the way around. Ben Gershom learns that the tree that's if it's in it must have different gears. That the tree that's in Eretz Yisrael. If the entire tree would be at Yisrael, you'd definitely be chayv. But the roots are also chutz la'aretz. You should be say teva b'chul merav zebazeh. It's the roots that are getting the nourishment. So what's Pshat Rashi here? I don't understand. If anybody can tell me, I would love to hear it. I don't understand Pshat Rashi here. But anyway, so the question here is that we see from here that we're not worried about the roots going into Eretz Yisrael. We're not worried about the nourishment from Eretz Yisrael. According to Ula, 16 amas surrounding the tree, the tree is still getting its nourishment. Said the Gemara, my skin, the mafsik sunnah. We're talking about there's a rock there, a stone there. If you remember in the beginning of this whole Pedic, we had a machlekes Abaye and Rava if you're allowed to bring it all the way to the boundary, and Rava said you can. I have come in certain places we said you could. So Rava said talking about there's a sunnah. There's a rock there that's dividing that doesn't allow the nutrients to pass from one place to another place. So therefore, there's no influence from Eretz Yisrael on the tree. But you might have said, "My commitment. What's the machlekes then?" One means tebel if there's a rock right in the middle of the roots, so it's right in the middle of the tree. So the part that's growing in Yisrael is Yisrael. The part that's growing in Chutz La'aretz. So what's the problem there? Why is it tebel b'chul and murav and zebazet? We'll get a whole new pshat on the machlekes. What happens is taked by the root level. They're two different places, very distinct. But then they travel up the tree. Do they now, while they're traveling up a tree, do they get mixed up there? Or do we say, well, those on the right side continue traveling on the right, and those on the left side, the nutrients, they travel on the left, and the two never meet. Once it goes up in the tree, they all get mixed up together, and that's what that being says, well, you have tevel, chul, and merabin. Another one says, no, this is separate, and this is separate. Freddy Gemara, so now this is interesting. First day Gemara thinks, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as getting nutrients. Now we're saying only 16. It's a lot more. You very seldom have such a style where first we have one kind of a question where we don't accept anything you said, and then we say what you said not only is right, but it should be even more than that. Very much. The Sheish Esiyama so only 16 should be a lot more. Well, now we learn Marchikin Esiyama. And this is where Abaye said we had it before. But Abaye, Mazel Tuva Ozli, Take travels more than 16 amas, it goes up 25. It doesn't really suck up the nutrients, only the first 16 amas, and beyond that, it doesn't. He also when Avdimi came to Israel, we have this all the time that Avdimi and Rabin can't agree what Rabbi Yechon ever said. When Avdimi came to Israel, Amar, he said, boy, you manage the Shlokish Rabbi Yechon, and the Shlokish asked Rabbi Yechon a question. This very question that Ula talks about. If it's within 16 amas, he said, Mao, I'm only Gazlan. He said, Gazlan, ain't Mavim and Membekurim. Again, according to Rashi, Gazlan doesn't mean literally Gazlan. It just means that it's not Biradama, so you cannot bring Bekurim. What the main time means literally your Gazlan. He also, so nobody that brought, he agrees with Ula. However, when Ravin came and named Rabbi Yechon, he said, Echad Elon HaSamach HaMeitzah, but Echad Elon HaNoite. I don't care if it's mamash next to the boundary, I don't care if it's hanging over. Maybe the Kaida, you can bring Bekurim. Why? Even though the Kaida is going into the next person's property. So be having Murder Baba Kama and Achebel, the 10 conditions that Yeshua made when they went to Israel. This is the 11th. In fact, the Gemara wants to know why we don't include this. So I'm going to ask Cain Hinchel Yeshua Yisrael. Because of this, one of the conditions that Yeshua made when the Eden went to Israel that if your friend has a tree right next to you and his roots are going to your land and sucking out the nutrients, it's considered you're not makbid or nachman. Not only not makbid, it's as if the land is that person, so you should be able to bring bekurim. Okay, Mishnah. If a tree is hanging over into your friend's field, you have to cut down. So you have these implements that go above that stand above the plowshare, and you have to be able to easily move around. So if your tree is overhanging my property and it's not allowing me to use the plowshare properly and use all the implements, then I can cut it down. When it comes to I'm talking about the branches. So not the entire tree and not all the branches, only up to above that. When it comes to a carob tree or a sycamore tree, which is very, very full of very, very leafy, is keneged and full of branches. Over there is keneged mishkelis. And mishkelis, I forgot what it's called already. That instrument that what do you call it? That these carpenters use, a vertical thing. You want it to be very, very straight. You have a weight on the bottom. That's what it's called. Yeah. So, and basically you cut down all the branches straight down. You cut down all the branches that are overhanging because they'll constantly grow very quickly, and there's so many branches. But when it comes to a field that you need irrigation, then again, then any tree, forget about limiting only to a charuv and a shikma over there, any tree, even a fruit bearing tree, we cut down because I need a lot of space here to serve, and also we need sunlight. We need a lot of sunlight, and the tree is blocking. I need everything I can get because it's not as fruitful as a field that grows in the rain with rainwater. Abba Shaul says, "Kol ilan sadak keneged hamishkelis." Only trees that are not fruit-bearing trees, barren trees, are the ones that you cut down. That's not clear. Is Abba Shaul being machmir and arguing with the second part of the Mishnah Tanakama? You say all trees, in the case which is there, and I say no, only barren trees. Or is he being makel in the first part of the Mishnah? You say that a regular, a tree, if you said only a chruv and a shikma, you can cut down the entire, all the branches are overhanging. I say including also trees that don't bear fruits. And that's exactly what the question here is. Iboilu, Abashal, time we learn based on Abashal, Kol Ha'ilan Keneged Hamishkelis. Abashal says that maybe look at this. Abashal says any tree could not sell ra lebeis hashlachim. Now why? Because he says that when it comes to a field that needs irrigation, all trees are cut down. All trees, not just barren trees, even fruit-bearing trees. All trees. So what's he talking about? Barren trees must be talking about Shmam Naresha. He's talking about Dereisha. You say that was in Dereisha, which is a normal field that exists on rainwater, that only a charuv and a shiva, only those two trees, you're allowed to cut them all down, not just the few branches that you need to give way. And I'm saying no, all barren trees you can do as well. What is Abba Shaul's word? Kol. All, as if he's trying to add. You say limited to only charuv, and I say kol makes sense. He should have said the word kol. He's saying you say all trees. I'm limiting it. Kol is expansive. not reducing. Next Mishnah, final Mishnah Layachver. Even a tree a tree that's overhanging shusarabim. Koitzit, you cut down the branches. How much? To make allow easy use in the street. What's type easy use? Kadeshe gomo. People ride on camels, and a camel's higher than a horse. Or even they can pass through. Plus a rider sitting atop of it, so it's pretty high up. Rabbi Yehuda says gomel ton the fish. Rabbi Yehuda says a camel that's laden with all of its flax and its wares, which is lower, as we'll see. Or bundles of wood. Rabbi Shimon says kol ha'ila keneged. Rabbi Shimon, no, you cut the entire tree. It's overhanging sharabi. Why? We're worried about tumah. So what does that mean? So first of all, mantana. What do you tell me right now? All you have to cut down the branches that are affecting right now. Tomorrow and a year from now will be new branches coming on. Why don't we just cut it all down? Yeah, no, you only worry about today. Who says who said that by Nezikin? You don't look at it how it is today. You don't look at it about tomorrow. Actually, and now Mishnah goes Rabbi Lezer. He follows Rabbi Lezer. What's the story? So now we learn. You're not allowed to go ahead and make a tunnel underneath the Shusarabim, and Rabbi Lezer says you're allowed to. Why? Provided if as long as you put a cover on it and it's strong enough that the surface of the ground is strong enough to hold a wagon filled with stones, that's heavy weight. That's good enough. Now, what's Rabbi Lezer says? You look at it. It seems to me, look at it today. Over time, it erodes and it gets weaker, and eventually you're going to have to do something and fix it up and put another layer on it. We look at it as today. Now, I know you have to think about the future. You can't just allow this to happen because in a few years from now, the whole thing will fall apart. So clearly, Rabbi Lezer said, you look at it today, you look at it tomorrow. Our Mishnah not only concerned about today, our Mishnah about Rabbi Lezer. I feel very different. It becomes weaker. People don't realize it, and then suddenly one day, there's what's it called when it opens up the earth, and then people just fall in. Sinkhole. That's it. A sinkhole. And people are not aware until it happens. So that's why the Chacham say we have to think about the future. I will hoch over here. As the branches grow, everybody sees it and becomes uncomfortable. You'll cut it down then. As it happens, you cut it down. There's no need to cut it down earlier. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Gomel tom pishton oichavilas murders iboilu." Our question is, Shiyuda de Rabbi Yehuda nafish or Gimel Shiyuda de Rabban nafish? Which one is greater? Rabbi Yehuda, who says about bundles and everything else, is that higher up, or is the Chachamim who say that the rider? There was a pshit. There's no question. The Shiyuda de Rabban nafish, the rider is much higher. And I'll prove it to you. Because I'll get down to Shir Rabbi Yehuda. If Rabbi Yehuda's share is greater than Chachamim, so according to Chachamim, we make sure that people can ride their camels. What about making sure that people can carry their wares in the street? Because people do that. That's what camels are there for, to transport all your wares. So this guy put a tree there, and it's not fair. You're obstructing all the passageway. Must be that when you cut it down for the rider, it definitely includes also that people can ride with their camels and all their wares. So obviously the Chacham share is higher than the share of Yehuda. Sorry, these are the Shir Rabbi Yehuda Nafish. Is Rabban Shir Rabbi Yehuda Hechi Avdi? What do Rabban do in Rabbi Yehuda Shir? What about the people who have wares and have camels? How are they going to ferry them across? So Gemara goes back, counters back. Well, counters. Well, my Shiyuda the Rabbanah. You want to tell me Shir Rabbanah is greater? Tell me, Rabbi Yehuda, B'Shiyuda Rabbanah, my Avid. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, okay, he makes sure that you cut it just enough that people, the camels with their wares can go. What about a person who's riding it, who's taller? How's he going to get through? Well, said that's not a problem. So you can always bend down or get off and walk a little bit. Rabbi Shimon says, "Kol ilan keneged." Let's go to tumah. Just go to tumah. What's going on here? Tanan b'pnei oil tumah. But Isaac along says we're worried about oil. We're worried about oil. We're worried about let's say the mace underneath the tree, a kazayis of a mace, and a person, a kohen walks by, or anybody who follows the laws of tumah tara, and because it's an oil, you're sharing the same root. The branches together, next to each other. Within zitvachim, you become tameh. What's the price of adding? Mipnei hatumah tanan. That's clearly the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon saying mipnei hatumah. So they want to know. Even never thought we wouldn't have thought that the pshat is tumah on the ground. We would have thought that a bird might have dropped, a raven might have dropped, or a crow might have dropped a chizayis on top of a branch. And if that's the case, all you need to do is cut every second branch. So therefore, the thing there it'll fall down, and won't be and you won't be walking underneath. Here we're talking about not that you're walking like the kazais makes it on the ground and you're shearing common roof, we would have thought that the problem is that there's a kazais mace hanging on a branch, suspended, and you're walking underneath it. That's the oil. It was oil. That's what we would have thought. And therefore, the remedy is you have to cut all the branches down, cut every other branch. And so there's gaps and anything there will fall down. That's what we would have thought. It's enough just to cut the second branch. Kamash for one that no, the problem is that Taisus brings here, he says chula doesn't mean like Rashi says, cut every second branch. Chula means make scarecrows. Scarecrows take branches and make them in the form of a human, so the birds will be scared to come in. And therefore there won't be a problem of oil. And Kamash on that this bird might get scared and drop whatever it has in its mouth and land on the branch. That's what we would have thought. He says, no, it's from the bottom. Anyway, have a good day. We'll continue tomorrow with Shem Chesed Zabatim, famous Yeshiva Perek. I'm sure it'll bring back wonderful memories to everybody.